changed this title very intentionally. So, our series is called Designing Your Week, and it's all about making sure that you're designing your week to maximize the life that you want to have. So, productivity just sounds to a lot of people these days like we're trying to produce something, which, I enjoy personally, but the message here isn't about trying to produce for other people or trying to produce the most you can. It's really about designing your week to sustain and support the kind of life you want to have. So that's what we're doing here is designing our week every single week together. So today's warm-up question before we get started, and as always, make sure you have your journal or however you take notes and make sure you've got your beverage. Today I'm doing an iced matcha latte because it's 21 degrees outside. So of course I got an iced beverage. So make sure you have everything ready, get settled in. And today's warm-up question is, what is your favorite form of potato? And I want you to answer in chat. I'm going to type it in chat too. So my concentrating face is me typing. What is your favorite form of potato? And while I wait for the answers to come in, I will tell you, mine is hash browns. May says mashed. Ooh, May. Jeremy, yes. You don't have to pick one for the rest of your life. This isn't if you could only have one for the rest of your life, but it is like, what's your favorite? And in your case, Jeremy, since you are a potato lover, you can go with what kind of potato would I eat today? Boil them, mash them, put them in a stew. Exactly. Very hobbity about potatoes. But yes, what kind of potato, Jeremy? I'm going to alter it for you. Russet. Okay. Yes. That's not what I mean. And you know it. Ha ha ha. Just baked. So a russet baked potato. Okay. All right. That's fair. Personally, on a baked potato, I like butter, sour cream, and chives. Those are my favorite toppings. All right. So we are going to go ahead and get started. Give me just a second to share my screen. Here we go. Here we go. All right. We are designing our weeks. We've talked about our favorite form of potato. And now we're going to get into the reflecting on last week. And as you do so, since we're in the second half of January now, as you reflect on last week, I also want to bring your attention to any of those weekly and monthly goals that you set, weekly and monthly, yearly goals too. So whether that's a New Year's resolution or just something big you're working on this year, just kind of check in with yourself and just see how you're doing towards your larger yearly goals and the month. So as we reflect, think about last week and also just think a little bit bigger about how are you doing in terms of how you wanted to align your year. All right. And our first reflection question is, what was your biggest win last week? What was your biggest win last week? And if you have more than one, awesome. Make a list. Like if you had a few wins, that's great. You don't have to narrow it down if you don't want to. And I'd love to hear one or more in chat about something that you had a win with last week. My words are failing me today, so I know you guys are going to give me grace that I do not seem to be as wordsmithy as normal as I'm talking. Yeah. I have to admit, this whole TikTok ban, TikTok going down, is it coming back up thing has me a little distracted, and I was in my feelings about it last night. So I think that is affecting me still. But what was your biggest win last week? I will go ahead and share mine. So last week I went to a shop and there's some classes I've been wanting to try and sell. And so I went to meet with a store owner because she hosts a lot of classes, and she got really excited and we agreed on a number of classes that I'm going to put on at her store. So I'm really excited about that. And then after that, I went to my favorite park. I went to Arbor Hills, and instead of doing the normal loop I did the normal loop, and then I did a side trail, and I did the full side trail, and it has some elevation, and I've been wanting to do that. and it was really safe, and it was still really muddy, and this was still paved. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you. Yeah, it was huge. So my two biggest wins kind of happened on the same day. And it was like, and really, it wasn't just that she agreed to the classes. And Jeremy, I think you know this, but I just want to share with everybody too. It was the fact that I made myself do it that was the win. Because that was the part about being brave, was making myself go and do it. And that's what this year is about for me personally, is it's my year of being brave. And so that big win was just, I'd done my prep, I knew I was good, but just going in and actually having the conversation was the win. The fact that she was excited and agreed to it was kind of like the cherry on top of the icing on top of the awesome cake, and then the long hike at Arbor Hills after that just really made it amazing, because that was also being brave, going off on that side trail, because I didn't know where it went. I didn't know where I was going to end up. Because if any of you feel like sharing your biggest wins in chat, I'd love to hear them. I know that y'all are a pretty reserved crew, and so I try not to be too pushy about it. Oh, sorry, my nose is so itchy. But yeah, I'd love to hear about your wins. May got the keys to the new place. May, congratulations. That is such a huge win. So excited. So excited for you. I'm gonna put some hearts. Hopefully you guys, when we do the hearts, hopefully you guys can see them in the chat like I can, because that's so huge, May. Congratulations. Do some little celebrations in the chat too. All right. And then let's move into our next reflection question, because these aren't always the same thing, right? So what did you do, or sorry, how did you do on your goals? And that's, again, not always the same thing. And that's okay if the win took the place of making progress on the goal. It's great if you did both, but just kind of ask yourself, checking in on your goals. And this might be a little harder. It might be a little easier for some of y'all, depending on how you've scaled the goals. And this is just reflecting without any sort of self-judgment, without any sort of anything. It's just checking in. How am I doing? Do I need to adjust anything? And feel free to just check in on this in your journals. But if you're really nailing it and you want to share, feel free. Or if you're struggling and you want to share that so we can talk about it, feel free to share that as well, because this is a supportive space. And if you are struggling, let me know and we can talk through how to address that and just how to get some support. And for those of you who did the, designing the year workshop, we did start to break down some monthly goals out of that. And this is such a great opportunity to figure out if, maybe you were a little conservative about that, or maybe a little overly ambitious, because this is a really good opportunity to tweak and adjust that and make sure it works for you, because that's what's important. And as we reflect back on the week itself and on our check-in with our goals, this is a great opportunity to ask yourself what you learned from that. And those learnings can be anything, right? It could just be, you literally learned a new skill or something, or maybe you learned something about your process and about how you need to adjust your approach. And so along those lines, feel free to ask yourself what worked and what didn't work. As you reflect back on the week and the learnings, let me know when you're ready to move on to the next section because this could be a longer or shorter process for y'all, depending on how it's going. So if you can just put a one or an X in chat, or you can make full words if you want to, but let me know when you're ready to move on to the next section. The gamers out there are going to be familiar with putting a one or an X when they're ready. All right, Jeremy's ready to move on. And it's not a rush, it's not a race. May's ready. Okay, I know we've got a few other people who are coming in and out, but I'm going to go at the pace of the people who are doing the end-to-end process. And I do have all the prompts in chat for anybody who is catching up. All right, so now we're moving into designing your week. Designing your week. Just really being intentional about setting your week up so that you can move through life with enjoyment, that you can do things for yourself, including working towards the goals that you've decided are important to you. So, thinking about your annual and your monthly goals, how are you going to move the needle this week? What is one thing that's going to get you closer to those bigger goals, that you've determined are important for you this year? And this can be that next action, right? And a great example is if you're trying to connect with community, one small step could be even just researching different activities to do. But what's one thing you're going to do this week to move closer? For me, since this is my year of being brave and facing my fears, this week I'm going to do one more thing. One more thing that scares me. And then ask yourself what's time sensitive this week? What do you absolutely need to do this week? That could be making a doctor's appointment, paying a bill, making sure you're completely ready with your tax accountant, but something that is time sensitive this week. For me, I think I have to update my credit card on my bug guy portal. It's very important to keep up with your bug guy, and I think I have to go fix something on there. And now think about if there's something you want to add in. Maybe you feel like you've got room. Maybe you feel like, hey, I'm doing my goals, but I'm just not feeling satisfied in some way. So take a look at our 6 pillars here and think about if there's an area that feels neglected where you might want to add something. And that could be like, for me, sometimes I get so intensely head down in like creating things that I'm like, "Oh, no, I've started ordering food again instead of cooking, so I need to do something. I need to make sure to refocus on health and well-being this week." You know what I mean? So it's easy to get out of balance, and there's nothing wrong with that, but this is a great check-in to see if there's something you can do to maintain or regain balance this week. All right, this is the part where we get a little bit we just go down a little level and get a little bit more tactical. And so for this portion of the session, make a list of actionable tasks for each of those goals you just set for the week. And if those questions didn't surface all your goals or all the things you need to do, this is a great opportunity to add those in. So just kind of rationalize it as you go through the list. So for each goal you have for this week, make sure you have a list of actionable tasks. Once you get that list, I'm going to ask you to curate the list. Is it too much? Is it not enough? Are you just being a little too conservative? Can you do a little more? Do you need to scale it back? This is where you find balance with yourself, but having a very clear list is having clarity about what needs to be balanced, if that makes sense. So make a list of the tasks that align with those goals, see if it's too few or too many, and then curate it down to which ones are committed goals and which ones are stretch goals. And for those of you just joining, we went through a reflection on last week, check in with larger goals, set some goals for this week, and now we're drilling down into actionable tasks to align with each of those goals and then curating the list. And this is also an opportunity for those of you who are feeling like you can't add anything to your plate, but you are feeling out of balance. This is also an opportunity to ask if there's something that can come off your plate so that you do have room to do something for yourself. And keep tasking, but this is this week's challenge, which is what boundaries do you need to set in order to prioritize your goals? Because I am starting to hear from folks that, you know, they can't seem to add anything because they have so much going on. And I'm going to ask, well, of all the things you have going on, if they're not in alignment with your goals, do you need to be doing them? And for this section, because again, this can take more or less time for folks, go ahead and put an X, a one, or say ready in chat when you're ready to move on to the next section. Because again, this could take more or less time. It's a good challenge. Yeah. I think sometimes we forget to think this way. So thanks for affirming that, Jeremy. I think this can be really helpful. And I just texted it to one of our friends who normally joins and wasn't able to make it to today. Not because she can't make it, but because I know this is something that it's good for everybody to think about. But yeah, put an X or say ready in chat when y'all are finished with the tasking and curating the tasks. Jeremy says dry. Jeremy, are you trying your new bread? Tell me the new bread is not dry. Jeremy says, no, I'm not ready. That's fair enough. Sorry, Jeremy, for a little joke. Also, Jeremy, I know that you don't always share the new things, and it's okay because I know a lot of our audience is very not dry. Okay, good. A lot of our audience is a little reserved, which is totally fine. But Jeremy, you've been doing so much with like baking and trying new things. So I hope that as you're celebrating your wins, that is one of the things that you're celebrating. And I am going to ask if anybody needs more time for tasking, because again, I know sometimes people step away and come back, so I don't want to linger too long on this section, unless somebody truly needs more time for the tasking. We haven't gotten into calendaring yet, so if you've jumped ahead, we're not on calendaring yet. Also, if anybody is working on setting a boundary to prioritize designing and having the week they need, feel free to share that. If that's okay with you, because I think it helps everybody else who's working through this process to hear that, yes, real people are having to do this, and this is what that looks like in terms of setting boundaries to prioritize your goals. And an example is I love being of service to others, but I'm setting a boundary to help people only when they really need my help versus when I think they need my help so that I can spend my time on my priorities, but still be there for people when they need me. That would be my example. All right, May says she's ready too. So here's the fun part. I say fun because setting intentions can feel like a challenge to some people, but set an intention for your week. Set an intention for your week. May says, I love that. Thank you, May, for the validation. I appreciate that. Set an intention for your week. I am focused on building the foundations that will sustain my family. This is my intention, by the way. And I came up with it this week. I did not ask ChatGPT for help. I'm focused on building the foundations that will sustain my family. Everything I do is from a place of love. That's my intention for the week. And it's so helpful as you go through the week. And sometimes you get in the weeds and sometimes you feel discouraged. It's so helpful to have an intention that anchors back to your why. And when it comes to the boundary example I gave, like I came up with that because I genuinely do love being of service. But if I'm honest with myself, a lot of times I'm doing a lot of unnecessary things. Yeah, take a moment, write down your intention. Feel free to use ChatGPT, but set an intention for this week. It could be longer or shorter than this. It can just be a word if you want. I didn't use ChatGPT this week because I just had something where the words came to me. It wasn't just a vibe, but also ChatGPT had like a reset earlier in the week, and I'm just going to say it hasn't been the same. It's not the same this week. We are not vibing. All right. I realized I was a little behind on the putting the prompts in chat. Okay, so this is the harder part. This is where we move into calendaring. So, wherever you are keeping track of your goals and your tasks, and you may have multiple work calendars, personal calendars, but this is the part where you sit down and look at your overall schedule for the week, everything all together. Make sure there's no conflicts, make sure that there's balance, and make sure that you have room in your days to take time for you. So as you go through and balance your schedule, replan your week, look at your meetings, see where everything fits in and make sure it fits together and make sure you're not overscheduled or in some cases underscheduled because sometimes having too much time makes it hard to choose what to do. And this is also a great opportunity to apply the challenge of setting boundaries. So when you look at your calendar, determine are there things on the calendar, again, that don't need to be there, that aren't in alignment with my goals or what I have to be doing. Because, of course, yes, have to do the day job. But even within that, it is possible to set boundaries and move things and cancel them. I'm gonna be crazy and try playing a little music in the background. I'd love to know I'm gonna start playing it right now. I'd love to know if you guys can hear it and then how the volume is. Okay, Jeremy says can't really hear it, so I'm just gonna not bother with that. I was trying to do it the workaround way. So thank you, Jeremy. Yay, May, congratulations. Good job finishing your calendaring. Thanks for joining us today and great, great job. I hope you have an awesome week and congratulations again on your new place. Jeremy, too, as well, is also done. Congratulations, Jeremy. Okay. Thank you all so much for taking this time for yourselves this week. For those of you who go in and out of the live, thanks for joining as much as you can. This will obviously be available on replay. So if you want to go through the prompts with everybody, feel free to do that on replay. But really important to take time to design your week, set up an awesome week for yourselves. I wish you the best of luck with your goals this week, and I will be checking in on the Discord on Wednesday with everybody to make sure that they're on track. So, yay! Congratulations. Have an awesome Sunday, and I'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody.